Hello, my name is Mark Young, and I wanted to talk with you today about one of the artifacts I've developed as part of my ePortfolio project in the Information Sciences 505 class at the University of Tennessee. I've got a link here you can follow to access my ePortfolio site, and what I'm going to specifically talk about today is one of the products that or artifacts that I've developed in the past that I've included on the site. And that revolves around efforts to develop a geographic information system for the UT Forest Resources Ag Research Center, located in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, with different units scattered around other parts of the state, like Tullahoma and up in Morgan, Scott County, up in the northern part of Tennessee, near the Kentucky state line. And on my ePortfolio page, I have links to some of the samples taken out of this artifact that you can follow. And I've already opened some of these up at the top, so I'm just going to jump into some of these so that you can kind of see them live. This effort is actually sort of a sub-effort, if you will, of other things that are going on that we've been working on over the years. For example, we're developing an information management system for all of the centers, and this will sort of be a hosting site to access individual management information centers for each of the 10 research and education centers we have. Now, a lot of my work and what I want to talk about today is revolved around one of those research and education centers, again, the Forest Resources Research and Education Center, or we'll just call it UT-FREC for short. We love acronyms in agriculture. So we've got a GIS for the UT-FREC, and it's hosted on the IMS page, and we also have an MIS page where we host this information. And here's a screenshot from that MIS page, and you can see it's broken down to different units, and I've got different types of maps that are included in here. So the first two records are live, or the first two links on each of these are live. The other ones go to different servers and so forth that are locked down, that you can't access without special permissions. But if you follow some of the links through the different sites I have posted, you can get to some of this and explore it if you like a little bit. But basically, one of my efforts here was to develop an interactive type of set of base maps that could be used both in the office and in the field. So one of the challenges we had in this case was we wanted something that worked like a website but could be used offline as well, because in this particular location there's a lot of the property that is not accessible to cell phones, for example, and even the internet in the offices is very, very slow. And so when you're dealing with maps, you've got higher resolution. It can be very time consuming to just download and access information. So what I did was created a set of these maps, and there's actually about seven to 800 of these maps. It took me a long time, but the maps, because they can be loaded onto your hard drive, they load very quickly into your browser. And so you can actually put them on a tablet, for example, and take them to the field with you, and you can be located maybe in a very remote location, far away from any kind of cell reception or anything, and you can still access these maps from a digital device. So that was kind of the challenge and the goal that we had with these maps, essentially to develop a map book in a digital format that people could carry with them in their vehicles, and that you could also access in the offices where they might have had slower internet connection. So just quickly, and this links back into some of my goals that I developed earlier in my career, especially my educational career. When I decided early on that I was interested in getting skills in a variety of GIS areas related to learning about the types of GIS information that's available, how it's formatted, how to acquire that information, and then ultimately organize it and use it into a system that we can apply in the field that I can use in my actual job that I currently have. So it was an effort to become more familiar with this type of technology so that we can actually apply it. And there was a big demand for this type of technology and skills in the field that I'm working in now. And so I was interested in learning about these systems and a little bit more about how I can actually apply them, as well as developing websites and getting some web design skills to be able to host this kind of the outputs from this technology. So I wanted to learn about the systems, and then I want to be able to make maps and products that I can put online in either a live or, as in this example, an intranet basically format that we can utilize in the field. And so some of the competencies that goes with this is the principles of map design, map use and evaluation, basically map interpretation, um, database management systems, in particular, relational database management systems such as Microsoft Access and so forth. And so this is something that was a long-term goal of mine, but during the course of my 5 years or so that I've been in the program, I've managed to pick up a lot of skills in these areas. And so I've actually applied these now into products that we're working with on the centers live. So this screenshot again, it takes you to some of the map products. This is the one I want to really highlight today, and I've got a screencast of about 10 minutes that I've got a link to on my site as well that will give you more of detail about using this. I don't have time to go into all the detail today, but it's basically it's interactive, and the user, as far as the user would be concerned, it could be an online type map, although in this case it's and I've actually run it online, but in this case I'm intending it to be used again in the field in like a tablet device. And so you've got aerial photography here. We've got one of the units on the property here, and these yellow labels are the different management units that occur within that unit. And you can click on any one of these units, and it will take you to, it appears like it's zooming into that unit, but it's actually an entirely separate map. So there's different maps for each of the screens that you're seeing here. And if you want to go to an adjacent unit, you can click on anything that you see in yellow on the screen. It will take you to that to a close-up view of a map for that area. So we've got different we've got different types of maps. We've got aerial imagery for different years, and I've got 2010 showing now, and I can change quickly just by clicking on the links that I've embedded on the map itself. So we've got that view of the 2008, 2007, and 2006. And these are loading just a little bit slow on my end because these that I'm using for the example here are actually being pulled off of a server on an internet server. So you can see that the photography changes pretty dramatically in some cases across the years. And I've got different types of maps as well. So we can go to a topo map of that same area. We can jump back out to the overall view by clicking on the map title here, and that gets me out to an overall view. And so we've got topo maps, aerial maps, I've got contour maps, and terrain maps that shows a digital terrain model where you can see basically the relief and elevation information on the ground. And then just some general base maps, just basically polygons to highlight the different units sort of at a gross level of detail. So that's the product. I've got links back to my home pages here. Some of these will work and some will not because, again, they're on different servers, but it gives you sort of an idea of how it lays out overall. You can go back to the home page. Another type of map product that I've got on the site that I wanted to highlight is one that's hosted on an ESRI server that is for one of the properties in Morgan County, Tennessee. And the little leaves you see here are individual data points across this property. It's about 4,000 acres in size, and we literally sampled hundreds of different points on the property to measure inventory data on the forest resources. So we're measuring trees, species, heights, diameters, and so forth. And just to give you an idea of the scale, I mean, there are hundreds of these points, but each point involved measuring anywhere from probably 9 to 14 different trees on each one of these points. So if you click on one of these points, then it pops up a little pop-up here that gives you specific information that was collected on each one of these sample points. So you can see here this was plot number 13 in stand number 1, for example, and this count field is how many trees were measured. So there were 8 trees measured on just this one plot alone. And there's summary information in here, basically on age, diameter, heights, and so forth. So this product was kind of developed to give a easy access to get to this inventory information and be able to kind of get a summary from each of the points that was collected. The managers on the ground might be considering maybe a timber sale or some type of management effort they're wanting to put in on a given area, and by going through this map they can actually see kind of what resources exist in that area, so they get a little better idea for that. And there are a whole variety of other maps that we have planned that are relate to this as well, some of them showing different visual type material, pie charts, aerial photos, and so forth that shows these areas. And we have lots of maps already in our system of timber sale areas, for example, which is an activity that occurs. We'll have maps of the boundaries and the harvesting activities that's going on, and things like that. So this is an example of a live truly internet-based map here. And then finally, I've got a page on the management information site that has access to the individual maps that were included in the interactive mapping system. So you can access these. There's a lot of information on this page. It's a little crowded, but the idea was to make it easy access from one page. And once you understand how it's laid out, it works pretty efficiently. You can get to any of the different years of aerial photography we have for any of the different compartments, which are the management units, and you can do so in both a JPEG and a PDF format at both a low and a high resolution. So the idea was to get something that at the lower resolution it still looked fairly sharp, that you might want to email, for example, to somebody, included in an attachment with an email. There might be a researcher that's interested in that area or something, and you wanted to send them a map of the area. So you can use the lower resolution, which is still pretty sharp, and you can attach that to an email, for example. And then we had higher resolutions of the same area of coverage that's accessible. So I went a little bit over, and I apologize for that. I just wanted to, it's kind of hard to couch this information in 7 minutes. I've tried it about 5 times now. So anyway, I'll stop now. And again, there's more information on the screencast and so forth back on my ePortfolio page. The 10-minute screencast that shows you more details about the interactive mapping system. And you can get to my overall IMS page as well if you want to explore that a little bit. So thank you for your attention.